Hey everybody, I'm John and I'm here with Rick and Tish, and we are talking about autism and enlightenment again. So we've been kind of hashing out some things about what we wanted to talk about today. And I came up with an idea, and everybody seems to agree with it, that we're going to talk about entry points. So when I say entry point, I'm asking the question specifically about what is it that draws you out of your human shell, out of your human condition, and allows you to glimpse the divine. I'm going to keep it that simple and just throw it out there. What was your point of entry, or what is your point of entry? What's your favorite point of entry?
I guess for me is I never really understood it in the beginning, in the first place. I just thought it was something strange that was happening to me, and I didn't know what it was. And I sought out somebody who could give me some answers. And it was really neat because I even before I went to that person, I started doing automatic writing and not even remembering why I was doing it. And things were coming through my pen. The pen was just moving. And I found it fascinating, but some of the messages were kind of scary. And I think whatever was going on was trying to get me out of this. And something inside said, no, stick with it, stick with it, stick with it. And that's what I did. And I don't understand what drove me there. It's just I've been spiritual my whole life. I've always been very reverent of God. I've always been very reverent of the church and everything else. And frankly, I was quite afraid of it. But by carrying on with what I've been doing, I found out certain things that makes more sense. And I can probably leave it at that point for right now.
Well, but it brings me back to the entry point. Like, when do you feel like you're entering that point, doing spiritual work?
Okay, let me put it to you this way. There's a scenario when I'm up in my bedroom and I'm talking to the archangels, not knowing why. And I was just hit with something that was just so beautiful. I just started crying. And I felt each one of them that I called to talk to me stand right in front of me. I could feel the difference in temperature in the air. This one would move this way, then another one would come through, that one would move that way. And something told me this is something very beautiful and unique here. Don't let this go, because from my knowledge, nobody in my whole life had this kind of stuff happen to them. Nobody. So it was just the unburning or the burning desire to learn more, to be more, and I've never looked back. I mean, that was just one of the entry points. There were so many of them. But, well, another point I'll make briefly. Once that had happened, when I looked outside, the sun was brighter, the grass was greener, the leaves were greener. Everything was just a whole different hue, a whole different color. And I thought, my God. And I'd just sit there and the tears would be rolling down my eyes because it was so beautiful, but I didn't understand what was going on.
So that was part of your awakening.
Yeah, part of the awakening, which was led into what I am today and what I do today. It was just this, I don't know, I mean, it was insatiable. I couldn't get enough of it.
I have a question for you. You just made me think of something. Do you feel like you have now, do you feel like you developed multiple points of entry? Because I would like to talk a little bit about myself when we get a point.
Well, absolutely.
But I want to know that about you. So tell me something, tell me about some of the other multiple points of entry that you're, and it's not about what's necessarily your wheelhouse or anything, but just what are all your different points of entry?
Well, I guess I've been put down so much in my life. When this happened to me, it's like I felt like I belonged. I felt a belonging I've never felt my entire life. It's just like, this is amazing. And it wasn't happening to anybody else I knew. So it's like, I have to pursue this. I have to go on with this. And that was just the desire. And then there was other things that happened. There was like I just mentioned with how everything looked different, how everything felt different. Things was making more sense to me that never made sense to me before. The things that made sense to me before didn't make sense at all.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, I don't know, to nail 4 or 5 of them would be kind of hard because it's just, everything with me was boom, 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 boom. I was on fast track from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got involved with other things like Reiki and mediumship and stuff like that. So it's just like, I don't know, it's just like I can't get enough of this. I can't get enough of this. I have to do this. It was almost obsessive.
I think that that's probably a universal thing. I would assume once you've had that glimpse of the eternal, the divine, honestly, if you think about it, if we chose to just stay there, would we not just wink out of existence on this earth? I don't know.
And you're referencing to coming back to the human self.
Yes, exactly. Because I think my whole implication of talking about this as a point of entry is that there's also kind of a point of exit. Because once you're done, say, and Tish, you can speak more to this because I think you've got the most experience in this room with Reiki. Once you're done with a Reiki session, you have to put it away. You don't have to put it away, but you do put it away, right? Does that make sense?
It makes sense, unless someone is consciously aware that Reiki is always flowing, then we're not putting it away, but we are kind of compartmentalizing it in the mind, right?
Yes.
Because when I think about entry points, I think about is what led me to even recognizing of what we were calling now entry points. For me, it was suffering. It was wanting to heal trauma, and I didn't know that I was autistic back then, and so to me it was trauma based. Why am I having panic attacks, anxiety attacks, going through bouts of depression? So it was in the suffering that led me to my healing journey, and it was my healing journey that led me into my spiritual journey. And so with going into meditation, practicing mindfulness, having those moments where I was still within my spirit, and I did that long before I ever started working with the angels. It was that stillness within myself, a place where I could find a refuge that I'm finding now that I know that I'm autistic, that even in the moments of dysregulation, of getting to the point of, you know what, I'm going to step aside and take some time to breathe, to be mindful, to maybe do some meditation, depending on the situation. So that's what led me there. The entry point, again, meditation, mindfulness. Anytime I'm providing a service. So if I'm doing a tarot reading, psychic reading, Reiki, whatever the service may be. But for me, I think the biggest point of entry when I am most connected is when I am in a state of love. When I can feel that love of the person across from me in session, because we're all connected. If it's a matter of feeling the love, watching a tragedy unfold on the news, and feeling the love of the people whose lives were lost, or their family and friends, etc. Standing in a place of love and grace, going beyond my ego and having compassion for others. That's probably when I am most entrenched within my spirit self, within that entry point. Mm-hmm. But because, yes, since we're still human, having the exit point, and it may be, my husband just called for me, right? Bring me back out of meditation or from that state, because, maybe it's time to go have dinner or do something around the house, and I'm more into my human self, getting regrounded into the place in which I'm at, in that particular present moment.
Well, that's the thing too. I want to say real quick on that. Even though you do get in touch with spirit like you do, you have to remember you're a human being too. You have things to do on Earth for your human self too. But I mean, just the fact that to know they're both there is exciting to me.
But there are some times where I am in meditation because of not knowing about autism, of healing through trauma, and why do I still feel a lot of, so the trauma, I feel like I've done a hell of a job healing, but I found that I was butting up against my brain, right? So feeling still awkward, like why am I still awkward? This is before the diagnosis. Why am I info dumping or oversharing? Or I still just feel really awkward, and it's kicking up my anxieties, not understanding. So I would go into meditation, and there have been plenty of times where I didn't want to come back. I wanted to stay where I was. Mm-hmm. And it's that little voice in my head, this whisper, reminding me that I have a family. I have grown children and grandkids and a husband and friends. And I think for autistic people, and I know that you want to share too with points of entry, but I really want to share this. I think with so many autistic people, especially when we are late diagnosed like all of us are, we do struggle. What is so weird about me? Why am I so different? And we're not weird, we're just different. But when we struggle, and thinking about how suicide is at a much higher rate among autistic people, I would love to, for the community, working with allistic people, forgive our cars were in the city, the noise, of being able to lower those numbers. And by autistic people finding refuge in meditation, by autistic people finding refuge in being mindful in that moment. Now, there are sometimes I don't want to be in the moment because I don't understand the moment, or I'm dysregulated in that moment. But when I can use meditation, breathing exercises, walking away from the situation so that I can begin to process things out as best as I can in that moment, I think it's really helpful. So this is where I think being consciously aware and being on one spiritual journey can also help them with what we experience as autistic people.
Mm-hmm. I want to pick up on a point that you just made about seeking refuge, and I think that is one of my points of entry, is seeking relief from my own, this is hard to say, this feels really personal, seeking refuge from my own human condition. So
it's kind of a form of escapism.
It's a form of escapism. And I'm going to tie this into autism. Okay, so the same thing applies to people who are allistic. Points of entry into spiritualism. But for us, autists, the human condition sometimes feels worse because we are not normal according to the standard societal norms. So we have more of a reason to seek that refuge.
Yes.
So you made me think about, why are we even talking about autism and enlightenment? Maybe there's something to that. And maybe, I don't know, but maybe that thought, there's some merit to that we have been seeking a refuge from the world
The pain, the
the
suffering,
pain, the
confusion.
suffering, because pain and suffering, I'm going to say, is also one of my major points of entry into spirituality. I am learning some amazing things about what it means to seek and to explore your own pain. That's what I want to do for my clients. I want them to come in and share a piece of pain, and then we will chase that together with no judgment,
Nope.
no nothing. Just speak and speak your pain, speak your truth.
Honoring the process in a safe
Yes.
space.
Amen. Yes. So point of entry, obviously, deep and highly variable depending on the person. Each one of us. I mean, do you know any Wiccans? How about Christ consciousness? There are some people who maybe that is their one point of entry. And religion, organized religion, valid point of entry.
True. I mean, lately I'm finding no matter what book you read from, whether it's the Bible, the Quran, we're reading something now called the Bhagavad Gita.
Bhagavad
Gita.
That's I always mess that up, but I'm just saying, as I was reading that today,
You're ahead of me.
well, the thing of it is, there's so many similarities.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Krishna is Jesus. You know, I forget who they call God, but I'm just saying that the principles, the law of cause and effect, it's everywhere. No matter.
You're saying Krishna is analogous to Jesus.
Yes, that's what I mean. I mean, I'm just using the reference points.
Yeah.
I mean, it was making sense to me, but no, it's just the beauty of spiritual work is just amazing. And I don't know.
So how do we, how do you guys see it when you have got into the entry point and you want to bring it back to the human side of things? What are you bringing
For
back
yourself?
for yourself and or for others?
Or for a client, possibly, where you...
For a client, for a neighbor, a family member,
Okay,
yourself,
sure.
like anybody in general, how do you see, as you have got into the entry point of spiritualism and you are in this place, or you are getting clarity, whatever that is, like, because that's the beauty, right? Like, and I don't even necessarily see it like we're taking it from that realm and bringing it here. It's already part of us. So, we're awakened to this as we are in that realm.
Okay.
But just for whatever sake of, how do we bring that back? What kind of tips would you suggest so that we can share that, bring it to the human life of keeping it with us as well as sharing it with others, generally speaking?
Maybe if I understand what you're saying right, it's like if you're getting an intuitive hit, don't fight it.
What I'm saying is
What,
when you have got into that entry point.
Well, yeah,
right?
but I'm just saying, I mean, that's how people look for something different. They're getting that point where something's hitting them. It's like, wait a minute, something's different here.
Well, that makes sense too. And I'm kind of visualizing you getting a message from the angels or something.
No, this is in the beginning. It's just like there's certain things that come to people. It's like, wait a minute, why am I having that thought? Well,
Now, see, that's interesting though, because when you put it in that perspective, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm still tired and waking up, but I haven't truly awakened.
yeah,
But yet I'm getting downloads, or I'm getting these nudges from the soul. That I feel a little different, which is actually beautiful, right? Because all of us are spirit as well as human. So it's like, to me, the spirit or the soul, whatever one it wants to classify it as, it's like it's whispering to us, it's nudging us, right?
yeah.
So in that case, yes, it's like when you listen to your intuition, when you listen to that inner voice, when you're listening to your soul, your higher self, whatever it may be, and then you see the benefit of having done just that. You took a different road and because you took a different road, you found out there is an accident that you missed because you took that road is an easy example, right? So yes, you were bringing that into your real life. Today, I guess I was more focused on like when we are consciously going into an entry point. But you're absolutely right that we don't even have to consciously be into the entry point.
It just comes to you.
It's coming to you.
It's
so that
there
does
with you.
Unbidden. Yes. Okay.
The
That's another
awakening
point.
and accepting it,
Is
yes.
that divine timing?
Well, we don't know what that is, I don't think. When that happens, we have no idea why. We're not striving for enlightenment in that moment. Enlightenment comes to us.
It does.
So, but that, I think that's a whole different topic. I mean, because point of entry, I think there's will involved. You are, do you see what I'm saying? That, if you're seeking...
Well, it's interesting. It doesn't have to be.
No, because
Right.
it comes to you.
So I think it's both.
It's both, yes.
Right?
Yes.
It can be a willful knowingness of point of entry. It could also be that you didn't realize that you just, the veil thinned up, that you were at that point of entry and you got that information. So
That makes
it's
sense.
both,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Yeah, and
I see your point.
it's an amazing feeling. It's just like, wow, I've never had these thoughts before. That's where I think the divine timing comes in. Now here I am in my 50s learning about spiritualism. I'm thinking, okay, what about the previous 40 years? But then when I thought about it, it's like, no. Where I was in that place and time in my life, there's no way in the world that they would have brought that to me, because it would have just been 3 times the struggle.
Right. So we do. It's like we have to be ready.
Yes, to accept it.
Although, I'm going to talk a little bit about my own personal experience. And of course, maybe this was the autism. I don't know. So when I was really, really young, I remember having distinct nightmares about sort of like a multitude of things that I couldn't count. So I almost feel like I was getting a glimpse of that. There was a thinning, and I wasn't seeking it because when you're whatever, how old I was, 8, 9 years old, it's not like you're seeking enlightenment. I mean, maybe some 8 or 9-year-olds are capable of that. I don't think I was.
Oh, yeah, I would.
But it did feel almost like it came unbidden, where I got a glimpse of something that was so big that it terrified me. And it has taken me 50-some years to understand what it was that I was seeing back then. So, yeah. Did autism figure into that? I don't know. But it's a fascinating thought that, I've been sitting here thinking about in terms of willful point of entry, and Rick has schooled me on that and reminded me that it's not necessarily a willful point of entry. Sometimes the entry looks for you.
It does. And in my life, that's the way it's been. I mean, I'm sure with everybody else, there's different circumstances. But for me personally, that's what it was. And I used to have reoccurring nightmares, too, about spiritual stuff. And we won't get into that right now because it's too off subject, but maybe we will sometime. But it's just like, no, I mean, I have never been at such peace in my life as I am right now. Never.
I'm wondering, is talking about willful points of entry, and then as you're talking about your 8 or 9-year-old self, right? Mm-hmm. And how saying that like it looks for us. I don't. My brain says it doesn't look for us. It's there, and I think it looks for openings for us, right?
Yeah.
Because
exactly.
when we are children, so many, like, as somebody who does psychic work, as I teach courses, it's, we can think about some of the well-known psychics out there. So I don't like the hierarchy that's built around psychics, and they'll say, like, I've been doing this since I was a young boy or girl. Truth of the matter is, almost all of us have had an experience where we have seen, heard, experienced something that was otherworldly. But usually it's fear, or it may be that we go to our parents and say, there's a monster under my bed, because that's the terminology a small child would use, and the parents are like, there's nothing under your bed. It's all right, go to bed. Whereas the child is in between the veil, feeling that monster, that spirit that is within their room, that they perceive as hiding under their bed, and the child doesn't understand it. And then when we tell our children, you didn't hear or see anything, it makes, first of all, us kind of like lose trust in ourselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
But for whatever reason, whether it's out of fear or we're shut down because of our religion or our culture, whatever it may be, it's oftentimes later on in life. And I see this a lot with students and clients, that they get to a point later in life where they begin to question things again, and they go back into their youth. So I would suggest that it has always been. It's just we've been so contained of not being open, no matter how much the soul may be knocking on your head, right? Like, open up and let me in. I mean, it's already in, but we're not listening to it. That when we allow ourselves to open up to it, and it doesn't always have to be an allowance, but we have those moments where we've all done this, right? Where we are driving and we're going a distance, and then we don't remember how we even got there,
Right.
because we've been so up in the mind, right?
Yeah. And so you're just automatically continuing to drive.
I see it as the brain has a job to get you from point A to point B, but then the mind is busy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's in those moments, I think, that we begin that automatic writing, or something is able to pop through because we aren't so much in an angst moment or whatever it is. We're more relaxed and open and maybe more up in the mind, but interesting.
I really do like your point about hierarchy. I think it's one of the things that really drew me to dive deeper in your classes. And it just, it felt to me, it just resonated, that lack of hierarchy, because I just wrote this, and maybe this is automatic writing, I don't know, but I felt very inspired to write this, that there is no hierarchy in the divine. There just is. And that would be another discussion for another day. What is that is?
I really do want to get back to that topic.
Yeah.
That'd be a great one.
There's something I recently saw about hierarchy, but we won't go into that with this one. And we'll start to wind this down. But so what else do you guys have with entry and exit points?
Well, I mean, my personal favorite now, and I still am trying to wrap my head around this, is tarot. I would say I've become obsessed with doing tarot readings for myself lately, because there is so much wrapped up in that.
Let's do an episode about tarot and numbers.
That would be cool.
We can do that.
So
that would be really good. That's just another one of a million possible entry points.
I guess my entry point is and was, I refuse to say no to myself one more time.
Can you
what I explained is when all this was happening, I thought, this is happening for a reason. Why not? Who cares what anybody else says? This is happening to you, not to them. So you do what you got to do, study this, find it out, become a part of it, but don't force it on nobody, of course.
So that sounds to me like you're saying you have embraced the fact that it is a personal experience. And I have had problems with that too, where like I suddenly have a moment like tarot, where this is for everybody. Everybody needs to do tarot. Everybody needs to, no. My point of entry.
Yeah.
Now, it can be others as well. Just because I've chosen or whatever, it has chosen me doesn't mean that it doesn't exist for millions of people around me.
But when you get that hit, it's like, no, I got to do this.
Yeah.
It's like, it doesn't, this is your personal journey, no matter who it is.
Yeah.
Whatever your entry point is, that's your entry point. That's your journey to start it or let it go. I let it go 2 other times. I couldn't do it a third time. I thought, no, this keeps coming back, man. This has got to be it. And not everybody likes what I do. Not everybody, but that's up to them. That's where they're still sleeping, in my view, or whatever. But I'm just saying, no matter who it is, when your journey starts, it's for you and you alone, and you have to pursue it. You don't have to do anything. I've been told about that. I shouldn't tell people that they have to do anything, but it would be a great idea. The personal peace you'll find if you look into it. I'll leave it at that.
Sounds like you're trying to sell spiritualism.
Yeah. I got this great big truckload of it out there, and I'm just trying to unload it on people.
Right.
Well, and it is autism and enlightenment, right? And the path that we take on our own personal journey towards enlightenment.
And it's influenced by how we think. Of course it is, because which I think was the whole point of this discussion, is I think we are, because we're human, we have to step back from time to time and lead our reasonable lives and, go to work or get busy on our retirement or those types of things, but they're still the human condition. They're still kind of stepping back out of that realm.
And that's another thing. I didn't mean to interrupt, but that's what us autists do. Anyhow, that's what I was told. It's like, no, you have an angelic connection, but you're also human. You have to deal with both. And I think it's kind of
autistic human.
Yeah. So they throw another winger dinger at me, but
That's
I don't
right.
care.
Exactly. It's do we have to have it so difficult? Yes. It's part of what makes you who you are.
It brings your mettle to,
Right.
your mettle.
It does, and I believe that I truly believe that we were wired this way for a reason. And let me say too, as we are talking about this, the other thing that is coming to mind is authenticity. And I really feel like when I wouldn't have used entry point until John used that terminology, but when I am going into meditation, when I am practicing, again, whatever modality it happens to be, when I am in a state of love, I am completely and fully, 100%, unequivocally accepted.
Oh, yeah.
And from an autist point of view of so often not feeling accepted in the physical world, I can share that 25 years plus of being on my started healing into my spiritual journey, that when we can feel such love and acceptance individually as we are, when I'm in meditation, when I am back into my human self, I'm in a much stronger place emotionally and mentally about who I am from having done those things. Much more accepting now. I'm not going to lie. Getting the diagnosis really threw me off. And I've been getting my footing back. But it's that reminder going into those entry points that I am always perfectly whole and healthy. I am always accepted. I don't have to be accepted by my peers, my neighbors or my coworkers, to know that I belong. And knowing that each and every one of us, whether we are holistic or autistic, I believe that each and every one of us have our own special, unique gifts. And I think as autists, and then as autistic people stepping in and becoming spiritual, we're finding our own home, right? Because we feel like we're aliens dropped here from another planet. And then we wind up finding our tribe of those where we feel as though we speak the same language. And so we find that acceptance on this side when we go through the exit point, right?
True.
And feeling that cohesiveness between the entry and the exit points as well.
And I'm going to just follow up on a point that you made.
It's kind of like balm in between the two. Going between the two. Sorry, go ahead.
You said something about 100% of the time feeling accepted when you've kind of gone into that. So let's say it's meditation, whatever it is, you feel that sense of acceptance. Well, guess what? Is that maybe not why when we have sort of taken on this mantle of being energy workers, that then you are able to give that acceptance back to whoever it is that may happen to be around you in that moment. Because when you do come back from your sip of the divine, whatever it may be, you've brought a piece of it back. So that circles back to what you were asking about. What do you bring back? Well, you bring back love and acceptance, because that's all that exists on the other side of the veil. At least that's all I've ever seen.
And you know what's beautiful?
And I apologize again, we're in this city, so we have a lot of loud cars.
Yeah, but I just realized something. It's just like when I'm with the divine, I don't have to mask.
Of course not.
No,
right?
Because the divine, whether it's he, she, or thee, accepts me for who I am.
Amen.
That's where I can bring the spiritualism into my autism.
Yeah.
I'm accepted, 100%, no doubt about it. I don't have to mask. I don't have to stim. I don't have to do anything. All I have to do is be one.
And I think that brings it right back to why I believe there's a strong likelihood that autists are probably more inclined to seek out spirituality.
It would be interesting if there's studies of that.
Oh, it would be. Would be great.
So I think this is probably a good point to say namaste, and I think this has been amazing, and I think let's just keep this going. And
secretly, we all want to keep talking, but we know we have to end this at some point.
Exactly. Speak truth, Rick.
It is the truth.
That is truth. And what are we supposed to tell people to subscribe?
Oh, that's right. I suck at that. So
somewhere.
Hit the subscribe button. I think it's over here. Click that bell.
Could it be one of those bouncing things that
I'll work on it. That's not my special interest.
Wouldn't that be cool? Like have a subscribe button that moves, so you have to chase it. So you got to be motivated if you want to subscribe, right?
Well, yeah.
Click the subscribe button. Click that. Hit that bell. Share if
it's a fun idea.
This resonates with you. I know, because it won't be pointing all over the place.
Ask some questions too. Feedback.
So if you have questions or comments, leave them below, please. Please be respectful. And with love from us to you, be well.
Namaste.